Hello everyone, this is James and Keisha, and we are here with
Say what?
With James and Keisha, and we have our movie reviews for the month of
April.
And we are going to start off with
This is the first month that we disagree on a lot of the movies on how we would rank them.
And that's okay because we are two individuals, so we don't see everything the same. So this is a spoiler alert. If you have not seen these movies, come back to this after you saw the movie because we will be taking a deep dive into each movie. And the only fair way to do it this month, since we agree to disagree, is to start off with the first movie that we've seen for the month of April, and that will be Immaculate. And basically, it's about Cecile, who is a woman of devout faith, Cecilia, who is a woman of devout faith. She's warmly welcomed to the picture-perfect Italian countryside where she's offered a new role at an illustrious convent. Now, my question was, she couldn't find one in America? But anyway, but it becomes clear to Cecilia that her new home harbors dark and horrifying secrets. So, basically, this movie starts off with Sister Mary, who is sneaking into a superior's bedroom at night. She steals a ring of keys to escape through a locked gate of the Roman Catholic convent. Now, she is escaping. She's trying to escape. She's trying many keys unsuccessfully.
Yeah,
and she's being
four crazy looking men behind.
Yes. And she gets caught.
They slow walking toward her too.
She gets caught. She gets caught, and ultimately she's buried alive. So
tell about how they got her. They pulls her back through the gate and snaps her leg, breaks her leg, bone comes clean through. Yeah, messed her up. Then buried her alive. She was buried alive, and so this is how the movie starts off. So then we go to young Cecilia, who has turned to Christianity after she has had a near-death experience. She falls through some ice, and I guess at that time she decided to give her life to Christ. But she ends up going over to this convent, and at this convent, this is a place where they take care of elderly nuns who are basically, it's like a hospice care situation. They're near death, so they're taking care of them, and it's just a lot of things going on here that basically don't seem normal. It's one nun in particular that when she gets there, this nun is giving her static. She's like, so already, the hate was real.
And another sign, she didn't even speak Italian. Yeah. So you're going somewhere where everyone speaks a different language, but you might know a sentence. Red flag.
Yeah.
Red flag. So she gets there. This nun is not liking her. Her name is Sister Isabella. She doesn't like her, but she does befriend this other nun who just walks in the bathroom while she's on the toilet.
Sister Gwen, I believe.
She walks in the bathroom she was in the room alone, remember? She was her. That's right. She walks in the bathroom smoking a cigarette, and that's the other thing. Everybody's just smoking cigarettes here. The priests, they just smoking cigarettes and everything. But she ends up they're about to dedicate their lives or whatever they do. I'm not Catholic, never been Catholic, but they're about to dedicate their lives. So they're drinking wine, and they go to, someone shows her, was it the Mother Superior who showed her the relic of the nail that was used to on Jesus on the cross, and she blacks out. So then days later, she finds out she's pregnant. She's never been with the man, but she finds out she's pregnant, and they're all treating her like, hey, you're the next Virgin Mary.
Yeah.
So already, it's feeling real strange. And Gwen is telling her, don't you think it's weird? You haven't been to the doctor. Then she throws up or coughs up a tooth, and she's like, I need to go to the doctor. And they're like, no, we have a doctor here, this, that, and the third, and you don't need to leave. So then she comes up with
idea to get a chicken, and she cuts the chicken and puts it on herself to make it look like
she was miscarrying. But We do
So
have
they
to
take her
go
the
back a
hospital.
little bit. We do have to go back a little bit where her friend Gwen was like, don't you think it's strange? They're all treating you like this. You haven't been to a doctor. Then she's mouthing off at the people. And they take her to a room. And she's not seen again. And then the other girl kept saying it was the other girl, Isabel, kept saying it was supposed to be me. It was supposed to be me.
She tried to kill her.
She did try to kill her.
Yeah,
and she
tried to
killed
drown her.
herself. So all these things are happening.
I'm not sure if she really killed. I think nuns might have threw her off the balcony. You remember because they was up there. Some of the nuns was up there.
She dies, and so Cecilia wants to go to a hospital, and it's the day that the doctor is off. So she comes up with this plan. She should have hit that chicken better, and they're taking her to the doctor or the hospital. But who knew they had cell phones? And Mother Superior is all in there, and she finds the dead chicken. So they're bringing her back, and she's trying to run, but she's like 8 months pregnant.
Yeah.
So they catch her, and she goes back, and she's playing along, but they end up basically putting these marks on the bottom of her feet. Whenever they take the hot metal and they mark you,
like a brand.
Yeah, they branded her. And the other nun that she had seen that she thought was a little out of her mind, she had these same marks. Because what
It sounded like she was so crazy.
But what was happening is that they had been trying this experiment with this DNA that they supposedly got from that steak, trying to create another.
Because the father of Sal
Tadashi, he was a geneticist in his former life. So he had been taking samples, DNA samples, off of this steak and trying to create another.
Right.
So they had taken this mutation of whatever it was and impregnated her with it. So when she found out, she was trying to get away. So she actually ended up almost escaping. She
pretty much did, because she
killed Mother Superior and another one of the priests. And she ended up burning up, I call him Tadashi, his lab, but he had a fire extinguisher.
She stabbed him too.
Who knew? He had a fire extinguisher. So he ended up basically catching her, and there was like a tunnel under the lab, and she ended up going under there. He caught her. He tried to cut the baby out, but she ended up killing him. Then she ended up giving birth to whatever was gargling and growling. And she just took...
She got a rock.
After she gave birth and she bit that umbilical cord, she smashed that thing to death. So for James, what did you give that?
To me, it was a decent movie, but it was the last movie out of the 6 that we saw in the month of April.
For me, it was just like that and the First Omen were so similar. I actually was getting confused thinking about the 2 movies. So for me, out of 6 movies, that's going to be number 5.
Yeah.
So our next movie, calm down, killer, is Godzilla times Kong.
This was the new installment of the MonsterVerse. Puts the mighty Kong and the fearsome Godzilla against a colossal deadly threat hidden within our world that threatens the existence of their species and our very own, as well as diving deep into the mysteries of Skull Island and beyond. Delving straight into the origins of Hollow Earth, this film will explore the ancient Titan battle that brought man and monster together forever.
Okay, and that's the summary of the movie. And again, we agree to disagree. If I was 5 years old, I probably would have loved Godzilla times Kong. But I'm really not into these type of movies. But I did go see it, and I mean, it did have some funny parts in it, and it did have some parts that I'm like, where did this come from? What? How old are we? But go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems like Kong at the beginning, he was running from a pack of some type of wolves. It's like Kong. I think Kong be tweeting or texting these other Titan animals and saying something, and they'd be like, Kong, when we see you, it's on site. It's gonna be on site. But Kong's running from these pack of wolves type animals, and he kills them. He sets them up. He has traps set, and they die and fall in a pit, and Kong kills them. But Kong keeps hearing he keeps hearing sounds, and he's in Hollow Earth now, and he keeps hearing different things and thinking that it's got to be something else out there. And Godzilla, on the other hand, he's still after the Titans. He's in the Coliseum. He's sleeping in the Coliseum.
But now from what I remember, Kong was chasing them, but then he was having pain with his tooth.
No, they was chasing Kong.
Well, somebody was chasing somebody, but he was having problems with
Kong
his
was
tooth.
always getting chased. Yeah.
His tooth. Wasn't he having a toothache? Yeah. Okay, so then the scientists or whoever, the gang of people that look after him, I guess, they had to...
Rebecca Hall from the last one, the doctor, she played Dr. Eileen Andrews, the little girl, Jaya, and Brian Tyree Henry played Bernie Hayes. He was a little scientist on the situation too. And shout out to E. Smith, Fayetteville, North Carolina. He E. Smith graduate. But yeah.
So they had to go in and they had to extract the tooth. It was really neat. They had a veterinarian, I guess, and they went in and they looked like they put a titanium tooth in it or whatever they have that Wolverine uses, animanium or whatever. They might have put one of those teeth in them. But yeah, they replaced it, and the boy could tell when he got up he was feeling better.
Yeah. But he continues to hear these things, but the girl from the last one, she could talk to Kong, and the deaf, she was deaf, but
Jaya, Kylie,
yeah,
Hato.
But so they go to Hollow Earth. They go to Hollow Earth, and the guy who takes them, he gets killed by a plant. Yeah, and Dr. Eileen Andrews, she's distressed because they think that with this signal that's going on, they think that Godzilla, he's awoken, and he's going to Rome and France, and he's killing another Titan. So they fear that Godzilla's coming to handle Kong again, because he pretty basically killed Kong in the last one, but Kong was resuscitated, and he got the little axe leg in it. But so they was nervous about that. And Kong, on the other hand, he falls into some type of sinkhole, which is this big sinkhole. And this other little ape-looking brother, it looked terrible, was basically trying to get Kong to go to where he was from, which did have other apes.
Ape land.
Yeah. And as he was going, I don't know why Kong kept trusting this guy. He kept trying to he got him in the water, and Kong got attacked by some ill-looking thing, and it wrapped Kong up. Kong ended up getting him. He cut thing's head off, ripped his head off, and
ate him.
Yeah, and the little monkey-looking guy, he tries to get away. Kong looks at him, say, "No, we gonna keep bartending where you came from." He was amazed to see another ape. He thought it was just him there. And he finally gets him. The little guy takes him down to this ape village or whatever it is, but it had this crazy-looking ape with what's we call it, alopecia. He had alopecia. And he kind of favored Dennis Rodman with his stance and all, and then he would pretty much frostbitten Kong's arm, whereas they had to use...
He froze his arm and he had gotten frostbite.
Yeah, so they had to put basically a mechanical Winter Soldier arm on Kong. And it was kind of crazy. But Godzilla was on his way. The distress call was coming from the little tribe that the young girl, Jaya, was actually from. They thought she was the only remaining
one
from that
tribe.
Eevee tribe, whatever they called. But yeah, they were telepathic. They could talk telepathically. And on their walls, they had a sign of this ape, Dennis Rodman, looking at ape, threatening him. So the signal he was getting was actually, Godzilla was, when he got there on site, he was on Kong again. He was on him again. But Kong had a mechanical arm, and he was trying to get him to fight with him, and he finally caught. Godzilla was working, like he always did. But he caught Godzilla with the arm and dropped him, and drove Godzilla down in the sinkhole and Godzilla and Kong was on it then, because the young girl, remember the young girl, she telepathically, she can talk to Kong and she talked to Godzilla, and it was on site when they seen Dennis Rodman in the frozen guy.
So notice my interaction with this. That's how I was watching the movie. It was, I think, probably my first time watching a Kong Godzilla film. It had interesting parts. The little girl did remind me of my little granddaughter, so our little granddaughter, but other than that, it had some funny parts, but it's just like
It's a good movie.
Marvel and DC and whoever else. I'm just gonna watch it. Yeah, I gave it a 3 out of 6 movies.
We had the Godzilla and Kong did defeat the guy. He defeated Dennis Rodman. And I don't know what type of the monster it was, but they could freeze you when you blow it out. But he didn't even like it. Dennis Rodman had some little
device that was
controlling him. And yeah, he messed Dennis Rodman up.
So I gave it a 3. What did you give it?
You thought it was the third best? I thought it was the best movie I've seen.
Maybe if I was, again, maybe 5 or 6, I would have loved it. But
might have been the best movie I saw this year.
Maybe if I was 5 or 6, but hey, we get each entitled to our own opinion. But that's Godzilla times
the New Empire.
Okay, so next up we have The First Omen, and this is about a woman who starts to question her own faith when she uncovers a terrifying conspiracy to bring about the birth of an evil incarnate in Rome. And so again, we have Marguerite, an American, sent to Rome to work at an orphanage before taking the veil. And it was very, very similar to Immaculate to me. So I actually got the movies mixed up, but
this is actually a prequel to the original Omen with the Antichrist that was going to be Damien Thorne,
and so for this particular movie, we have Marguerite, who is basically, she's like a teacher at the orphanage. She gets sent off campus to live with this young lady that is kind of out there. And she encourages Marguerite before she gets to become a nun to, hey, let's go hang out, let's drink, whatever. So Marguerite's hanging out with her. She's drinking. She doesn't remember the next day what happened, what she's done.
They met 2 guys too.
They had met 2 gentlemen. She doesn't remember anything. So the next day, when it's time to come or to accept their veil, she's not able to do it. She's told she needed to wait. And she also gets very close to this young girl
named
Carlita. And Carlita is like kind of like the spawn of Satan for them.
She says a lot of evil things.
She says a lot of evil, yes. And she's like the bad seed. She's always put in a room by herself or excluded, and she doesn't know why she is acting the way that she's acting, but she's basically always left alone, and no one cares for Carlita except for Marguerite.
Yeah.
And there's a priest that's reaching out to her, asking her to look for the files because Father Brennan, he knows that soon that Antichrist is going to be born, and it's got something to do with that orphanage.
It says radicals in the church are trying to bring about
the Antichrist.
And she does find records of kids, deformed kids, that which all had the
Mark of the Beast,
the 666. But all of them were deformed. They won't, I guess, in their eyes, perfected. So that's why I thought the girl Carlita was
the beast.
But Carlita was having visions and hallucinations and things also. And
And so my issue with this movie is, how are we making up something now that never existed in the beginning just to make another movie? I don't like when movie franchises do that. It's very annoying to me for that to be done. And this movie was very, very similar to Immaculate. I mean, I even got the storylines mixed up, but in the end, Marguerite does give birth to 2 babies. and they only wanted the boy.
The reason they reached out to Marguerite also because she bore the mark of the beast.
Yeah.
She was one that she didn't know, but she was one that had that mark, and they brought her over there because she was one of the only ones who survived. Her and Carlita was the only two that ever survived.
But they weren't boys. They needed a boy.
Yeah.
And so she had twins, and they wanted to kill the girl and keep the boy. But they took the boy, and she ended up keeping the girl.
But the biggest thing in the movie is when she had they was checking the sexes of the babies, and once they found out they had the boy, the theme of the Omen, the dum 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 dum, it came on. That hyped the movie up pretty much. That made me like it. That's why I have the Omen, the First Omen, the second best movie I saw.
For me, it's going to be number 4. So next up is Civil War. Civil War is a dystopian thriller film written and directed by Alex Garland. It follows a team of journalists traveling from New York City to Washington, D.C. during a civil war fought across the U.S. between authoritarian federal government and several regional fractions. And I hope to God this never happens, what happened in this movie, because it was a terrible depiction of what can happen if a civil war breaks out in the United States.
Because what it was, they called it the Western forces, which was Texas and California. They was coming against the rest of the United States. It was certain areas was neutral, and so the Western forces was coming against them. They felt like the president was corrupted and things what he was doing toward America. But Kirsten Dunst was the star.
She was Lee Smith.
She was They played Lee Smith.
She was a renowned war photojournalist.
Yeah. And
then we had Wagner Moura as Joel. We had
assistant with Lee Smith.
Yes, and we had Stephen McKinley Henderson, the guy from Fences. With and he was Sammy. He was a veteran journalist, and he was Lee's mentor. And we had Kaylee Spaney as Jessie, and she was an aspiring young photographer.
Yeah.
And
couldn't stand by the end of the movie.
Anything bad that happened, we're gonna blame it on
everything bad that happened because of her. And it started off with her in the streets. There was a protest going on. She in the streets taking pictures and stuff, getting close. And she gets busted in the head with a pipe stick or something. And Lee goes to help her and tells her, you gotta you give her some pointers on what she was doing, because she wasn't, and gave her jacket, journalist jacket.
The vest.
Yeah. And but a lady had threw on a vest and ran, and she was a suicide bomber and blew up the spot, killing how many people and
police officers, everything.
Yeah. But they were protesting the U.S. government. It was crazy.
Yes, it was just a crazy film of what could happen. Hopefully it will not. Everybody was against everybody. And to me, the whole thing was they were on their way to get an interview with the president. And the president was in grave danger because they had disbanded the FBI.
Yeah.
And so he had no protection.
All he had was some Secret Service people and part of the U.S. military.
But they were trying to go kill him, and it was just crazy. And he was a target, and
he hadn't did an interview in years.
So they were going across country where one part I would not have even traveled any further if I seen the whole right hand side of the road is covered in vehicles, and you can't even get by unless you go over to the left hand side where you're not even supposed to be driving. And then in order to get gas, they had to offer the gentleman Canadian money. They didn't even want U.S. money. And then they had gentlemen hanging up in the back where they were torturing. They claimed that they were
girl Jessie
thieves. She wanders off back there. Lee has to go save her again. And for one, Lee didn't even want to take her on the trip with them. However, the black guy Sammy, the older photojournalist Sammy, veteran, he ended up coming. So the other gentleman, Joel, he brought her along. So they had already had two people in this big. It was like an not an expedition, but it was It was the other thing that they don't make anymore. That's made by
Explorer.
No, it was a
excursion.
Excursion. That big heavy thing that takes a whole bunch of gas, and they're driving that across country. And for me, it would have been a no-go. I would not have even went. But they just ran into some very uncomfortable situations and circumstances, and they're all up in the mix. They shooting and they're out there trying to get a good shot. Who cares about a shot if you're dead? You can't even produce your
film. The young girl Jessie kept getting
just all in the way. And then the guy Joel's buddies, they were journalists also. They was coming up behind them, flying behind them, and they thinking Sammy was telling them, "Hey man, like just slow down and let them pass."
But it turns out it was his buddies. And before that, Sammy had already told him that this don't feel right. I don't think we should go
this road.
But it kept on going. The one guy jumps from his Jeep inside Lee Smith's and them Jeep, and the young girl Jessie, she gets in the Jeep. She crawls into the Jeep with the other guy, and they pull off, speeds ahead. They finally catch up with them, but when they catch up with them, they're not in the Jeep anymore. They off somewhere. It was a pit with these three guys, and they got nothing but bodies in there. They got them on their knees.
And they're about to execute them.
Yeah, about to execute them.
And they actually end up executing the two guys. One of the guys was from Hong Kong, the two Asian guys.
Yeah.
And Sammy has to come and save them. He told them, hey, they got guns. Don't walk up over there. It's not looking right. My instinct tells me it's not going to go good. They still go over there anyway. Oh, well, we're going to talk to him. He has to come save them. In the process...
Because they ask him, what kind of American are you?
But in the process, he ends up getting shot. And he ends up dying because, again, she got in the car with these other guys that she didn't even know.
Yeah.
And... he was driving that. He had like a Land Cruiser or a Land Rover, whatever. He was driving that thing so fast, you wouldn't even been able to stop me. But they stopped. They got them out the car. They were about to execute him. But Sammy intervened. But those two Asian dudes, they got killed because they were...
where were they from?
Yeah. And so then they make it to wherever they were trying to make it to. And they had infiltrated the White House. So everybody was pulling out. They end up going to the White House. It looks like the president is fleeing. It's a massacre. But come to find out, he's still in the White House. And the Secret Service lady, she's saying, "Hey, can you guarantee safe passages for the president? Please." She got shot right on sight. So then they're still trying to get the shot. The girl ends up getting in the way. Lee's trying to save her. Lee gets popped. And the gentleman, Joel, asked the president, "Can you give me a quote?" And he gave, don't let him ask me.
Yeah.
So it goes off like that. And I'm going to tell you.
He said that's good enough.
That's good enough. But again, thank you, Jessie. You have to be the most hated character in any movie this year. It made my mother-in-law so mad she didn't even want to watch the movie anymore. But thank you, Jessie. You win the award for the hated character of the year. And I gave Civil War because it was just horrific. I did give that a 6. So on 6 of 6, I gave it a 6. What did you give it, James?
I thought it was the 5th movie out of the 6.
So 5 out of 6. Okay, so up next we have Abigail. We have a group of would-be criminals. They kidnap a 12-year-old daughter of a powerful underworld figure. They were trying to hold her for ransom in an isolated mansion, but their plan starts to unravel when they discover their young captive is actually a bloodthirsty vampire. So Abigail was very, very interesting to me when I saw this movie. Now, the lady that played Joey, she was the lady from Scream.
Yeah, the last two Screams.
The last two Screams. And
the star of the last two Screams. The daughter of, not Stu, but what was the other one?
The daughter of, I can't even remember his name, but I don't know if she was actually the star. She was a star in this Scream shows. But anyway, then we have the young girl who is a ballerina. She gets taken home, and these jokers, I guess they needed the money so bad because the young lady, Joey, she was a ex-drug addict. So it starts off with her sucking on a lollipop, and they're all strategically planned to get this 12-year-old girl.
Yeah.
So once they kidnap her and they get to the house, the guy that
Giancarlo Esposito.
the guy that played or he was back in the day in school days.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Giancarlo.
That's his name?
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about somebody else.
No.
And then he has a show where he's like a driver
He
as
plays Parrish
well
now.
in Parrish. So he tells them all they have to do is stay the night. Now, I don't know about y'all, but anything that sounds too good to be true, it usually is. So they devise a plan where Joey,
equal share. It was gonna be $50 million if they could stay the night.
$50 million. But anyway, Joey is the only one that's supposed to go in and out of the room with the young girl so she can only hear one voice. Okay, so Joey goes in to talk to the young girl, Abigail. But Abigail is very smart, and Abigail knows how to get what she needs. But let's not forget Rickles, who is our boy, Will Catlett, that played in that Omar Epps and
The Devil You Know.
The Devil You Know. I was trying to think of the other guy that played as the cop, but I can't think of him. Michael Ealy. That film with Omar Epps and Michael Ealy. Now, that boy played that role in that movie. And also, he did a great job in that movie with the singer. What is her name? And she had the son.
Tiana Taylor movie, yeah.
He did a great job in that movie too. But I must say that he didn't make it through the whole movie in this. But we know how that goes. But anyway, Joey is in there talking to the little girl. The little girl she's playing her like a flute. She already knows what to do. She already knows what to say. So then Joey goes in there and she's talking to the ex-cop, Frank, Dan Stevens, who's a former police detective. And she's letting him know, hey, this girl's dad is somebody that's bad in the underworld. They weren't supposed to give real names or anything. So she didn't know the father's real name. They didn't know his real name at first. But when they found out who it was, Lazar, they knew that some suspicious deaths were happening to everyone who messed with him.
Yeah.
And so they was trying to get out.
Yeah, because Lazar's henchman was known as Valdez, and he was known to leave you headless.
Yeah, so
with no blood left in you.
Now, the gentleman, what's his name again that played in Parrish?
Giancarlo Esposito.
Him. He had already taken all their phones, and he's like, the only thing you have to do is make it through the night to in the morning, and you got the money. But you can't have any contact with the outside world. We got to make sure you're not traced. He took their phones, locked them in this big old mansion. She goes in there. So Joey's talking to Abigail. Abigail's already playing her like a flute. Joey comes back in. You know who her dad is. So then Frank goes in there and he's like, hey, he's gonna rough her up. And then he's like, I'm getting my stuff and getting out of here. And then now Joey has a kid, so she's already promised Abigail that as long as she's good, she's not gonna let anybody hurt her. So then Abigail's telling her, oh, well, Frank said that he's gonna hurt me and he's gonna do all this stuff. So everybody's freaking out, and the guy that was in there, that was the driver, and
Angus-
R.I.P. to
Angus
him.
Cloud, the guy, yeah, he passed away.
Now he really played that role like he might have been on some stuff that night. I don't know. He was, and the things he was saying. So you want to go out or what? Because he was trying to pick up the other young lady, and she was like a
girl, Sammy.
She was like a computer genius, and he was trying to pick her up, and she's like, "Can we just pay attention to the job?"
She really didn't even need the money. She was wealthy, but she just like hacking stuff.
Yeah. So now the guy, what was his name? The one that passed away in
Angus Cloud.
Dean.
Dean. That was the name that was given to him. Dean.
I don't know why they decided to split up just to stay to make it through the night, but Dean got it first.
Dean got it terrible.
Dean got it first, and then they found out that, hey, Abigail, she was playing him. She's not bound in the room. She doing all this, and so then I think was it Rickles that got it next? Because when he went back up to the post where he was supposed to be watching everything, his gun was gone.
Yeah.
And I think Rickles got it next. And she was just picking them off one by one. So.
Because the whole thing was that Giancarlo Esposito.
Lambert. His name was Lambert.
He actually brought him there. He actually
set him up
for Lazar. And they did that every so often for the young girl to
defeat. It was just like a cat and mouse game. Bring these mice here and let her chase them.
And
so
she was a ballerina.
And she was picking them off one by one. So then she bites the
Frank.
No. She bites Sammy, and Sammy doesn't change right then because they're trying to just make it through the night, but they can't get out of the house. They're just trying to make it through the night to the morning. But she's just steadily picking them off one by one. And it was what's the big guy's name? They act like he was slow.
The big dude from
Okay, was it Peter?
Peter, yeah. He played in. See the guy that played in.
He was a physically imposing former mob goon struggling with his.
His real name is Kevin Durand.
He ended up getting it next. She was just giving it to them all. Sammy ends up getting bit. She doesn't change right away, but then Abigail makes her puppet.
Oh yeah.
So then it's down to the two. It's down to Joey and Frank. And Abigail's wearing them out, but she ends up biting Frank.
Yeah.
No. Frank ends up getting bit by Lambert.
Yeah.
Lambert ends up making a deal. They end up finding out what's going on. That Lambert he's the mastermind. He's connected to the dad, and he asks Frank, does he want to be down with him? And he says yes. So Frank bites him, and Frank ends up killing him. Mm-hmm. So then he's trying to kill Joey, but Joey ends up partnering with Abigail, and that's how they end up taking Frank out.
The sunlight.
The sun was coming. Yeah, the sun was coming up. They end up taking Frank out, and Abigail's dad comes, she ends up pleading with him to let Joey live. So it was really a roller coaster. But
basically, because she saved Abigail, he let her go.
Yes. So I gave Abigail number 2 out of 6. What did you give it, James?
Out of 6, I had to put it at probably number 4.
Okay, and that's Abigail. Okay, so up next we have the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. Now, this film is about British Prime Minister Winston Churchill and a group of military officials who hatch a daring plan to neutralize Hitler's fleet of German U-boats during World War II. It's made up of a motley crew of rogues and mavericks. The top secret combat unit uses unconventional techniques to battle the Nazis and change the course of the war. Now, I will tell you that when I went to go see this, I was like, what are we gonna see? Oh, we gotta see that. Oh my goodness. But this movie far exceeded my expectations. I actually thoroughly enjoyed the movie. And we had just saw Henry Cavill, in the movie with Bryce Howard and...
Yeah, he was in Abigail.
He was, he was in...
Argyle.
Yes, and I thought he did a great performance, he had a great role. But I really enjoyed the movie. It was a war movie. It was back in the day, so I was like, oh. But we really enjoyed it. And it had Carrie, let me see if I can find his name in here, Carrie Ells as Bridger Gubbins. And now I have been a fan since back in the day, Princess Bride. How many people remember The Princess Bride? That's me and my cousin Candace movie. So I have been a long time fan. Now I see that he's going to be in that new movie Twisters. I don't know how I feel about that right now. But I loved it because whenever the officials or the Nazis or whoever they were rolled up on Henry, he was Gus, rolled up on Gus's boat, they were like they weren't doing anything wrong. But they came up on the boat, they searched it, but by the time they did all that, they had somebody that had swam under the boat, put a bomb on their boat, blew it up.
He was Freddie Alvarez. He had blew the boat completely out the water.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because they were trying to neutralize these German U-boats because they were going everywhere, and they were trying to basically lessen the effect that they had on, you know, the events that took place when Hitler was doing all this stuff. But I really enjoyed the movie because, like they said, it was a motley crew of rogues and mavericks.
It was nice though.
Yes. Yeah, so I enjoyed it because there was actually an African American guy in there too. When they went to.
Yeah, that was his name was, what was his name? Babs Alosmokan. He was Mr. Heron.
Yeah, and it was a young lady in there too. She was part of that crew, and
she was tight.
Yeah,
she was like a spy though. She went over there with Heron to spy on situations to give them information on what they had.
Yeah, so she went over there and let's see, because they had to break somebody out of jail. Who did they break out of jail?
They broke I forget his name. I forget the guy, but that was what was his real name? The guy from number 4. I'm number 4. Okay, because we have Gus, we have Marjorie, we have Anders, we have Freddie, we have Jeffrey, we have Henry, we have Richard, we have Henrique, we have Captain Benita, we have someone that was playing Winston Churchill, and Ian Fleming. So we had a total all-star cast here. And Alex Pettiford, he was Jeffrey.
So they had to break Jeffrey out of jail. And Gus, whenever they went to go break him out of jail, he actually liked one of the jackets that one of the generals had in a hat. He took it. And so when
every night it was like.
And when they saw him coming, because he had that attire on, they just assumed that he was one of them. But it was a great movie. I thoroughly enjoyed the movie, especially the ending plan to disarm the boat, and they had actually changed up the material that the boat was made out of, so they had to come up with a different plan. But they risked everything they had, being outlaws, and they were able to disarm those boats.
Yeah,
and
they was if they got caught, they was just going to go to prison.
Yeah, because the government wasn't backing them. But it was smooth in the beginning when who was it? The gentleman, the black guy, and
Mr. Heron.
Yeah, and Marjorie.
His name was Richard Heron.
Richard Heron. They were on the train, and how they got the briefcase, and they went and they called, because I think they were using the Morse code. They were using the Morse code to communicate, and then they put the briefcase back before you even know it was gone. It was so smooth the way they did it, and
they got them all the plans for where that U-boat was at, and how they was gonna get the general over there to the party, to keep him get all of them out the way so they could do what they had to do.
Yeah, it was really an interesting, action-packed, kept me on the edge of my seat movie. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I didn't think I would, but I really did. And so for me, that was my number one for the month of April.
It was good, but I had to put it at number 3.
So there we have it. Thank you guys for watching, and we will be making our May movie reviews video very soon. So please like the video, subscribe if you haven't, and tell us what you think. What was your favorite movie for the month of April?
Yeah.
And what did you like about it? What did you like least about it? But thank you guys for watching. Take care. Have a great day.
Good night.